Hello friends, hi and welcome to my first ever Facebook Live. This is nerve-wracking, but I'm learning stuff. It's very new for me. I'm definitely nervous, but here I am because I want to talk about something that's very important to me and very dear to my heart. As someone who's been part of the yoga community for quite a while and been a yoga teacher for I think 15 years or so, and that is the prevalence of nutritional misinformation and disordered eating and body dysmorphia within the yoga community, and the many ways that these things are unfortunately perpetuated by the wellness and spirituality industries at large. And also the ways that yoga and meditation can help people to heal from food and body image concerns, both, for ourselves as humans and for the folks who come to our classes. So, as we all know, one of the biggest benefits of practicing yoga is the way it kind of teaches us to connect to our bodies, right? When we step out of our heads and into our bodies in that way that yoga helps us to do, we can really better hear that voice of our own intuition and our own, inner body wisdom. And I think anyone who's practiced yoga for a little while will kind of get what I'm talking about. So yoga is this really embodied practice, and it's wonderful. And thank you for liking, whoever just liked, yay! Yoga is this embodied practice, and us yogis often still get caught up in these kind of really mind-based nutritional doctrines and dogmas. So it's kind of weird that this phenomenon happens. If you listening closely at your standard kind of post-class chit-chat, it doesn't take long to come across a yogi, a practitioner, teacher who is strictly adhering to a certain wellness philosophy or to a diet even. Some diet that's meant to guarantee purity and cleanliness or bulletproof immunity, or even immortality. I've heard that as well. And maybe that yogi is you. I know that it certainly has been me. And there's a lot of confusion, I'd say, around nutrition in the yoga and wellness worlds. So just to think of some examples, we hear about foods that we should and shouldn't be eating for our health. So, traditional yogic traditions would say that we should be vegetarian. Okay, that's really common kind of thought. But then there's modern renditions on that saying that we should be even stricter than this, that maybe we should be vegan or raw vegan. But then you got Chinese medicine on the flip side, which I incorporate a lot of into my own classes and my own teaching. Chinese medicine that says we should avoid damp and cold kind of raw foods for our kidney jing, and instead we should be eating bone marrow and royal jelly and bee pollen and organ meats and stuff like that, or at least kind of warm cooked foods as opposed to raw salads. So it's really conflicting information. And I think that this confusion is one aspect of it, but then it kind of goes deeper, right? Because then we've got the cleanses and the juice fasts and the water fasts and the detoxes of every ilk. And of course, there's this blanket pressure to eat clean, and feeling guilty, this expectation that we should feel guilty if we transgress this or we eat a biscuit or some chips or something. And I just see that there is a lot of this kind of misinformation that at best is confusing and guilt-inducing. Sometimes it creates actual health problems where we've got adrenal stress, hormones are being disrupted, women and teenage girls might start getting irregular periods or lose their periods if their eating becomes too restrictive. And at worst, these kinds of very strict dietary philosophies can lead to eating disorders, or at least contribute to or exacerbate pre-existing, food concerns and disordered eating. So at this point you might be thinking, oh, come on, Casey, maybe that's got to be the exception rather than the rule, right? People getting eating disorders from hearing a bit of nutrition talk in a yoga class, or worrying about this kind of thing and confusion, disordered eating happening in yogis. Can't we just stick to love and light? It's so much nicer, It can't really be that big a deal, right? Well, from what I've seen, actually, it really is. It really is a big deal. If you think about it, the subset of the population who attends yoga classes really massively overlaps with the subset of people who go on to develop disordered eating and full-blown eating disorders. There was a really good study done in 2008 that showed that between 50 and up to 75% of women have some form of disordered eating. That's just massive. Up to 75% of women have some form of disordered eating. Crazy. And it's not just women. Disordered eating and EDs are increasing in men, trans folks, non-binary people as well. But in women, it's huge. And if you think about this in Australia, so yoga teachers, think about, your average yoga class and how many of those people are women. The official stat is about 80% of yoga students in Australia are women, between the ages of 25 and 54. So that means that up to 60% or so more than half of your class, yoga teachers, up to 60% of those people are likely to have some form of disordered eating, which is a lot, right? And approximately 15% of those women will experience a full-blown eating disorder at some point during their lives. So that's heaps, really. That's 3 in every 20 people in your class who will have an eating disorder like anorexia or bulimia or EDNOS at some point in their lives, possibly right now, while they're in your class. So, it's not just our students and our fellow practitioners who are susceptible to diet culture. It's us yoga teachers as well, right? There was another study that Amy Reich, a friend of mine, who's also a fellow non-diet nutritionist and yoga teacher, she brought to my attention this study in which 86% of Ashtanga yoga teachers met the criteria for orthorexia, which is an eating disorder where the person is unhealthily obsessed with healthy eating. And I have had this, and it's not fun. I talked about this phenomenon in depth in, I think it was episode 5 of my podcast, Non-Diet Yogi, with Amy, who I just mentioned. And that's pretty big. 86% of this particular style of yoga, Ashtanga yoga, of those teachers having orthorexia. Like, we should be hearing more about this. We should be doing something about this. So, the reason I'm speaking about this and, pushing past my nervousness about doing something like this is that I've been watching this unfold for many years now in the yoga community. And I know that we can do better. We can do better as a yoga community. I'm a nutritionist as well as a yoga teacher, and my specialty as a dietitian nutritionist is eating disorders and orthorexia. And I've personally attended classes where there was this one class where one of my eating disorder clients was attending the class as well. And the teacher who was teaching was encouraging us to cut out one meal a day, just to skip a meal. We don't need to eat 3 times a day, this teacher said. And that was really disappointing. And this client of mine, who luckily was in therapy at the time, was highly dysregulated after that class. She actually came to see me for an emergency session after that, just to disentangle herself from that eating disorder voice that had obviously been amplified by this really highly experienced, totally well-meaning teacher. And I've witnessed this kind of thing happening and heard about it happening too many times. I don't think there's anything wrong with caring about your health. That's really important, and eating healthily and moving in ways that improve our well-being and make us feel strong and energized and vital. And that's what we encourage in yoga, right? We want people to feel good. We want to be healthy, and looking after yourself is part of the practice and the lifestyle we all love. But there's kind of a difference between health, health consciousness and health obsession. And increasingly, I've seen more and more yogis, especially women, crossing over into health-obsessed territory. And I know what that looks like because I've been there, and I'll talk about that in another Facebook Live. But for now, I think that as yoga teachers, for any yoga teachers who might watch this, we just, I think, need to be aware of those statistics that I mentioned. And as practitioners as well, you don't have to be a yoga teacher. If you attend yoga classes or do online classes or anything like that, we need to be vigilant about these statistics. And teachers in particular, we really need to be careful, I think, about the health advice that we give outside of our specialty of teaching yoga. So that was doom and gloom kind of, but the good news is that we can actually use our yoga and our meditation practices to bolster body image and even aid in eating disorder recovery. That is possible. We can learn ways to use our practice to help promote body acceptance and body inclusivity, to dismantle diet culture and to foster body trust, and practice lovely intuitive ways of eating and moving that really honour the wisdom of our bodies rather than hurt us. But there's an art and a science to it, I believe, and I think it would be great if we know how to go about that so that we don't do the opposite and cause more harm. We want to adhere to that ahimsa, right? And to me, this is a big way to do that. So also good news, in about 3 months, I'll be launching my online course, Nutrition and Body Image Coaching for yoga teachers and yoga practitioners. It is open to not just yoga people, but fitness professionals, Pilates teachers, dance teachers. It'll be applicable to all of these folks, as well as anyone who practices and loves yoga. So I'll talk more about that in future Facebook Live videos, but for now, I just wanted to start speaking out about this issue and what we as yoga teachers and practitioners and yoga people can do to make our classes and our community safer for everyone. So whether you're a teacher or whether you just love to do yoga, there are ways that we can disentangle our own food and body image concerns. And in doing so, we practice ahimsa, as I mentioned, and we don't do harm to others, and we don't do harm to our yoga community or ourselves. And we can actually use our yoga and meditation to heal from these issues, and that's what we're here for. That's what we're about, right? So I'll be back for my next Facebook Live next Monday, same time, 12 noon. That's Brisbane, Australia time for those who are watching from overseas, like Yagada. It's so nice to see you here. Thank you for being here. And yeah, so the same time every Monday for the next few weeks. Until then, if you're wanting to sink more into this kind of work, you can access my free ebook, which is a modern yogi's BS free guide to well-being. Yay, I've managed not to swear. Yay. And see how this work kind of just resonates with you. So to get that free ebook, I will put a link in the caption above this video. I also have a podcast, if you don't know, called The Non-Diet Yogi. And that's where we talk about all this kind of stuff. I also have heaps of articles and blogs on my website. So lots of resources that are free for you to tap into. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to put those below in the comment box below. Like if you liked this, and if you want to be invited to my next Facebook Live, please leave a comment and you'll be invited to join me once I go live next week, once I figure out how to do that. So yeah, this is all very new to me and I'm learning stuff, which is exciting. But thank you so much for being here, wonderful humans. I hope you have a lovely afternoon or morning or night, wherever you are in the world. Thank you. Bye for now.